Okay, good evening everybody. Thank you very much for coming along. It's very good to see so many of you here this evening for our senior man Hustings. I think, well, basically the format of the evening is it should last just up to an hour, kind of around that amount of time. You're welcome to ask the candidates any question you want, but a question will go to both candidates. You can't ask just one of one and one of another or whatever. So any question, but it's going to both of them. The way it starts is that I set the candidates a question 24 hours ago for them to prepare. The question was, what changes, developments and improvements would you like to see in the JCR over your year in office, and how do you see your contribution as senior man in bringing these about? So the candidates each have kind of 3 minutes to talk about that, and so off we go. Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for the past week of Hustings. It's been an incredible experience. I've seen some spectacular things, including a couple of freshers having a great time mid-afternoon. Seen some spectacular things, but it's also been an incredibly eye-opening experience. And if there's one thing you learn, it's that this college is such an incredibly diverse, large place. There's so many people out there. And as senior man, you've got to encompass everyone's views, everyone's thoughts, everyone's ideas. And that kind of was just a sort of backing for the reason that I wanted to go for the position. So going on to the question, my kind of thought process for going for the position, and what I want to see, the developments, the changes, kind of went like this. And I apologise if I sound like a broken record, because you probably heard this a lot throughout the week. But it's threefold. The first point is, I think we have a brilliant college, and it's nice to see everyone here with incredible people and a diverse mix of talents, ideas and backgrounds. It's fantastic to see that. But I don't think we quite harness that potential enough. I think we could be doing even more to be diverse religiously, culturally and within our interests. Not only that, but I want to extend the walls of Castle into the viaduct. I want to get second years back in, because I think we're so much better when we've got all the years together. We're a stronger community. We can learn so much from each other. And not only that, that includes the MCR and the SCR. And then the third thing is integrating with the local community. At the moment, it feels a little bit like us and them. And it just shouldn't be like that. Look at this place that we're in. It's the most incredible building. It's part of Durhamites' heritage. I really want us to exploit this incredible place and connect with the local community. And I suggest we do that with a charity project. A charity project that offers not only financial charity, but time charity. And so it kind of boils down to two concepts as senior man and how I expect to do this. Responsibility and opportunity. Responsibility, I'm responsible for airing your views to the exec and to the university as a whole. And opportunity, what an incredible opportunity we have here in Castle. We've got an incredible mix of talents and backgrounds. Let's use that to really be the best college that we should be. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Peter, for what it's worth, and I'm going to set it right here. I'm going to make a promise to you for the next hour. Every point I make, every change I want to make, I'm going to back it up with a thing I'm going to do. That's a poignant point I want to make. Everything I say is going to have reasoning behind it, and it's going to go on to something that's action, that's going to happen. So, I've gone around, I've spent a week seeing a lot of you here. For those that I didn't get to see because you weren't in your room, sorry, or you might feel glad that I wasn't there. And I've realised that we have a very diverse college. It's almost our identity. We are not, I hate to tell you, we're not the brightest, we're not the best at sport, we're nothing like this. We are just an incredibly diverse group of people. We had selection, and we did that when we brought in this group of people, and now it's going to go to randomisation, but through talking to the exec, I doubt we're going to lose that aspect. Look around Durham. There's a lot of people which are very similar. There's a lot of people which are very talented in different aspects. People come to college and they can do whatever they want. They either do it or take it up here, and that's the brilliant aspect of University College, which I've been speaking about retaining and fostering. We're very, very lucky here. Well, through the year we've had, actually. We trust our exec. They're very approachable, they're a very good group of people. And the first thing I'm going to talk about and the first change I'm going to make is allowing any exec to come into office and be that approachable, accountable and transparent exec that this exec has been, but not the ratification just because they're that kind of person. And I've been using the JCR levy as the model because that's a transaction between the freshers and the exec very early on. 3 stages to that. I'll go to the middle stage, the actual decision making. That's made behind closed doors, with the exec, our Norman gallery, sitting around those tables, just getting it done. We never really have any contribution to that, and that's their job. So we're okay with that. And this year we've been okay with them making those decisions without us knowing what's being said, because we trust them. Yes, we do. But there could come a time where you want to know what's going on. So I've been proposing to people I've actually seen over the week, and this might be new for the rest of you, that we bring in something similar to jury service duty. So we force or we ask members of the JCR, which are non-exec, to come along to some of these closed meetings. And I'm not saying every closed meeting. One closed meeting could, if you're talking about June Ball, you wouldn't want anybody there. We want to keep that a secret. If we are talking about an individual, that's private, again, we wouldn't want something along. But something so poignant as the JCR levy, which again I've been using as a model, there needs to be some accountability and some transparency. So this 5-3 people across the years being brought on, they don't necessarily get involved, but they sit there, they have a box of pizza, they can keep themselves entertained, but they make sure that they're listening, they go back to their friends, they tell their friends who tell their friends that the exec are being the people they want to be, and are saying what we want them to do.
Pete,
Also,
I'm going to have to stop you, sweetheart.
one more point?
No.
No? Okay.
You can
Thank
say
you
it
very
later. Hopefully it'll get captured
There you
later in the evening. Okay, so I'm going to open up the questions to the floor now. When you, especially at the back, I can't actually see who's there. So if you just say your name before you say your question, that'll be good. So does anyone have any questions for the candidates? There we go. Adam.
I'm really pleased to hear both of the candidates mention that to them Castle's diversity is something they celebrate. In that vein, what would they say is their most diverse characteristic?
Of the college in itself?
Of yourself?
Of myself?
As an individual,
What's
your most
diverse about myself?
characteristic?
I think my day-to-day life. I like to think that I can put my finger in many pies and enjoy it and do different aspects. Get your head out the gutters. Watch it. Adam, my dad always says I'm a jack of all trade, and it's a case where I do many different things, and I enjoy all of them. Sporting here, I play rugby at home, I have horse ridden, I wakeboard, I kite. There you see, there's the truth, there's an honesty. I do these all different aspects, and I enjoy all of them. I'm very quick to take them up and immerse myself in them. And that's a trait which I think the senior man should have. They're going to be leading an exec that do different roles, so I should be able to immerse myself in each of those roles and enjoy them. So that's me.
Diversity, right. Let's go from being prop forward, which is a large rugby player with very few brain cells. Yeah, buddy. Thanks, PJ. There you go. Case in point, Castle. To going out as Castle Panto Dame in a glittery frock and stilettos. If ever there's diversity, there it is in a nutshell.
That's for you. Ed.
The standing order set out that the senior man must take responsibility for the satisfactory conduct of all JCR affairs and execution of JCR decisions. Please could you outline what experience you have and how you might apply it to this role?
Well, my main experience, and certainly in terms of the college, is as JCR chair. Although I haven't totally enthused the role because I've had to sacrifice my vote and my opinion, which is something I don't particularly like doing, although I've had to do that, it hasn't given me an incredible insight into some of the workings of college. And it actually relates to one of the points on my manifesto, in the sense that we have a lot of traditions here, which are kind of ingrained in the institution of Castle. But there are times where you have to challenge something. And the reason you have to challenge something is because there's been quite a few moments this year as JCR chair where people have said things in kind of committees or whatever, and I've said, okay, why is that? And then the response has been, because it is. And to me, that isn't kind of good enough. And that's when I said challenging the status quo. So my role as JCR chair has given me a proper insight into the workings, financial, and in terms of our structures here with our committees, to give me a great insight into the traditions, but also kind of what needs to be challenged here at the college.
And for the last few years, before I came to university, and also here, I've always found myself in a leadership role of a group of people. Recently, supervisor on the bar. Before that, it was head boy. I'd like to make a point about head boy. it is head boy, not senior man, and that is a big difference. Boy, man. Senior man is a big development, there's a lot more responsibility, and it's a huge role in comparison. But again, I found myself in a role of leading my peers, that's poignant, peers, where I could like them, I could dislike them, I could think they're great, I could think them useless. Leading my peers and creating professional relationships with them. It's a skill that can't really be taught, it's a skill you develop. I have had teaching experience as well, where again I had to create that professional bond with people I might have known through school because it was going back to my school that I was in, and coaching experience again, which is another role. It's creating that professional bond that defines you between, you know, just sitting up at NG with your exec and saying hi to each other, then sitting down to a meeting and getting the job done. I believe this year, this is nothing against the exec at the moment, they haven't left a meeting with a clear-cut decision, and that slows the whole process down. And this really affects the JCR as a whole. A decision needs to be made so you can move on and we can get the things done we want to do. So there needs to be, well, I've developed skills which allow me to sit down and make sure that the exec that sit there in front of me will get the job done, using my input, my chairing and their brilliant ideas to come to a conclusion. And that's how I see the JCR lifestyle being affected by my skills and experience. Thank you.
Okay. And Click?
To what extent are you running for this role to satisfy your own egos?
My ego. That's a question. I feel most at home in this sort of role. I feel very comfortable and feel that I do the best I can. I love being in a situation where I've said I can dip in and out. I won't use the pie analogy again, you hated it. I can dip in and out, you know, I can get involved with everybody's roles. I can lead them, I can then start presenting to the whole JCR body and dealing with the powers that be. I love that role. So yes, it is feeding my ego, but only for the love of it, and the love of college as well.
I literally have no ego. And to kind of reiterate the point, and it's really, really hard to sit here on a stage, on a chair with Peter and kind of sound genuine, but it's got to be one of those moments where I kind of have to back things up, and for anyone that knows me, I am purely doing this for the love of the college. And again, why should you believe me? Why should you believe me? I haven't thought about anything to do with myself in the role, because you can't. The reason you can't is because the second you start thinking about yourself, and you ain't going to be able to do this job. Because Jenny does the most incredible job, and I think we should, I'd like to give her a round of applause at some point. She does an incredible job. She's very meticulous, very efficient. But she ain't going to be able to do that job if she isn't totally committed to everyone in the JCR. The second you start focusing on yourself, and you're just not going to be able to achieve anything. I want to do this because, okay, this is my selfish reason. I love meeting and learning new, different people. This last week was just one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I met so many, such a variation of people, from Nick Rudd's assassins, he was like running around gunning down his corridor, to two incredible girls that I met, and they're probably in here, and I'm going to mention them because I walked in their room and they didn't want to listen to my trash. What they wanted to listen to is that what they wanted to do is pitch an idea about a happiness campaign to me, and that's something I fully back. So from the riotous nature of assassins to kind of the wonderful altruistic look of a happiness campaign, that is where the beauty of this job lies for me, and he did warn me. If I get elected, there will be no Assassin's Club. And that is my motivation, and so my ego is almost non-existent, and that is why I would love to have this role.
Okay. Who's got a question? PJ behind me? What was your question, PJ?
How much of a legitimate Monday, given the fact that less than half usually of college vote for any given exec position, and then a third of them then leave to be replaced by someone who have no say in the exec at all. How much of a legitimate mandate do you think that you, or any of the exec for that matter, have at all to govern college and make decisions on our behalf?
That's based on the assumption that the people who vote aren't suitable. So we can't allow prospective students to vote because it's just they haven't even been selected yet. So that's fair enough. So that's out of the way. The third years and fourth years, although they're not here next year, number one, they're alumni, so they do have they have a post-interest of college. But goodness me, do they know how to elect people? They've had an incredible experience. They've got incredible experience, and those are the people that I've really learned from. And so that allows us to have the mandate. The first year's fine, the second year's great, but the third year, I'm not at all discounting their ability to elect and thus our mandate, because goodness me, they've got some incredible ideas and wisdom that we should look into all the time.
I think PJ makes a very good point here, and I will point it out. Last year, there was a fact given to me that the final person elected into the exec position, only 80 people voted. And it's on my manifesto. I've said I want to streamline the exec voting in system. People will get bored after 4 or 5 weeks of this. There's a lot of people in this room, but I'm sure there won't be everyone here for the final one. And that's wrong. I would love to sit on an exec and say that every single person there that was voted in by the masses for the right reasons, because they're the right person for the job. Not because they can rally enough people to get them in because they're popular or because they've got enough friends. So the exec coming in my situation may be different from the exec going in the next year's situation. For me, I'd like to implore everybody to vote, so you do get that exec which the majority want. I'd love to think that the people that are going to vote are voting for the right reason, and that the third and fourth years, as Simon has alluded to, they know this college more than anybody else here. They're part of the furniture now, so they're making the right decisions. That's what I've said to them.
Durham has a question.
The senior man's known to be very vocal with the JCR. Could you please sing us a song about your experience?
It's a bit early for singing, isn't it?
Not early enough. Not too early for singing. No.
I thought this was at least. You have to know I hate singing in public. You must know.
Very good point.
You want me to stand up?
Yeah.
Cheers, Tito. I'm going to step down though. I knew this was coming, so I thought I'd try and get a song together, and there's H in the audience who's been trying to teach me one. She's shaking her head, thanks H, a lot of confidence. The reason behind this is we're all supposed to be educated people who, you know, come to university, come to Durham because we're the brightest of the brightest, but we get here and we turn into a load of yobs that drink a lot and get out and stuff. So, this is, who is it? This is the first word, H, Emmanuel. Okay, here we go. My mum's going to see this as well. I'm not going to sing it, I'll rugby chant it. So, Emmanuel Camp was a real piss hand who was very rarely stable. Heidegger was a bugger for the bottle. Who was very rare. Who could drink you under the table? I hate singing.
He's a bootleg.
Fine, I go to my dad's idea. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. If you see a crocodile, don't forget to stream. Reasons behind that. On a serious note, it's not just that's supposed to be sung as a round and everything should be everyone singing, because it's not just my voice that should be heard. It's everyone.
He really is a pop star, isn't he? Mine doesn't have words, but I bloody love wizardry, and we're in a castle. And enough. Thank you very much.
Questions? We're going to go over Chris Moore?
Can we have something? Can we have like a bit of a come down?
Oh, is
Like
there
a
one?
serious
Okay,
question.
one at the back first.
Hi, given the controversy with the recent change to the college admissions, where the voice of the student body didn't seem to get heard until after the decision had been fully made, how next year will you ensure that the voice of the JCR is heard whilst it can actually affect the decisions being made?
Excellent question. When I spoke to David Held about 2 weeks ago, this was a massive, massive issue for me, because when he told me for the first time, he said, we're going to be randomly selecting next year, I just sat there in like total shock. I couldn't believe it. And my initial reaction was, why does nobody know about this? So I totally agree with you. Now, Jenny has a particularly difficult role, because you've got to keep the interests of us, but the interests of the university, and also, which is another dimension, is the fact that she's senior man of Castle. And what that brings to the table is when you go to meetings, there's an initial kind of arrogance and elitism about us, which is obviously totally unfounded, but it actually still that actually remains and makes the situation particularly difficult. But in this particular situation, I think we needed to know sooner. And the main reason for that is because we have a say. And our say actually counts so much when we all come together, collective versus individual kind of protest. And in this particular situation, I thought collective protest was key. So in the future, when I go to any meetings with the university, with David Held, on the behalf of you guys, my first reaction will be, what would you guys want? What do you want to say? And I've got to represent that, and that's the main thing. So in any future decisions, having been the first person to kind of go find out this situation and learn it and be shocked, I've got it ingrained in my head, and it will play a massive part of any decision I make in the future.
I attended the JCR meeting on Sunday, and I wasn't vocal at all. I sat at the back in the corner and listened to what everyone had to say. And it was interesting. I don't think the point was made across that the decision had already been made to you, and it has really been made. You speak to the exec, it's going to go through. And all this, well, we should be rioting, we should pick up our pitchforks, and we really got hot-headed in that place. I don't see anything coming back from that. The only thing that should be done is remind that the powers that be, that we're what they rely on, really. We're the small hands that make the cogs go round. And we need to remind them that we're here and we should be involved in these decisions. So through these letters, through us standing up and letting our voice being heard, we can then remind them that we're here. There's something called the, I don't know whether you know, there's something called the President's Committee, which is each president or senior man of each JCR meeting together. And at the moment that seems to be something very useless. The former two senior men stopped attending in second term. Jenny still goes because Jenny loves her role and thinks everything should be good. And I don't understand that. The senior man is the embodiment of the JCR. That's what you're voting us in to be. So a collective of all those JCR embodiments in a room should be the embodiment of every single undergraduate in Durham University, and as such their voice should be heard and their voice should be extremely powerful. So that's something to look into. I don't know whether one senior man can revolutionise how that works. It should be something they should try at least, but I'm sure Jenny has been trying for a year. The only thing I can say to you now, Tom, I think as Tom was saying, asking the question, is that we are being oppressed, it's seemingly, by the powers that be, and I'd love to be in a role and position where I can speak up for the JCR. We should speak up for ourselves. We're not going to change what's going on at the moment, but say the next big decision comes around, we should be asked beforehand, and that's my opinion.
Okay. Chris, do you still have a question, or have you gone?
Yeah. Shag, marry, avoid. Jenny, Lynn Carrick, and Janet from the server.
Well, I'll marry Jenny. No, I'll marry the servery lady. I'm sure she's a great cook, and that's important. So, Yeah, where's the feminist society? I'll shag Jenny, and that leaves the other one to be avoided.
Nice to see we've retained the intellectual edge of this debate. Shag, marry, avoid. Shag, what were they again? Lynn Carrick, right. Shag... Been there, done that, no. Shag, marry, avoid. Shag, Janet, probably quite a wonderfully explorative journey that would be. Marry Lynn Carrick. What a glorious job she did. I mean, what a bloody glorious, with all the admin and, oh God, she's just great at that stuff. Oh God, Jenny. How awkward.
Okay, anyone out that way? Oh, what can I see around the corner? Nick?
Yep.
Go with it.
Seeing as you reckon this decision about the admission process is going to go ahead, what are you going to do next year to make sure the castle spirit is retained given the new admission process?
This is exactly what I've been talking about all week. Firstly, I'd like to say I'm not going to be as defeatist as Pete, and the main reason is... I wasn't negative husting. No, Pete thinks we have defeat in the sense of the decision. No, I mean that's a perfectly reasonable perspective to have. I just think the reason that we shouldn't be too defeatist on it is the fact that they haven't actually heard our view yet, and we haven't actually had a rationale yet. I think the second we have a rationale from the people at the top, we'll be able to pick flaws in their argument. For example, they say it's... Sorry? Okay, I'm getting there. They say it's for equity. They say it's for transparency, but it's not because they have prejudices at the moment. They have the gender and the ethnicity and the disability. They have that sort of bias at the moment. They say it's for equity. They say it's for equitability, but it's not because they're still going to have caveats in which we allow alumni and siblings in. So it's none of these. Now, the second we get a bit of rationale, we'll begin to realise what I think and what a lot of people think is the real reason behind this. And as PJ's just alluded to, shouting around from the back, it's a cost-cutting initiative. I see this as the first step of a far longer process, and that's why our voice needs to be heard. So what I want to do is a far longer cost-cutting process, a process where you cut the paperwork, and then you cut the senior tutor, and what incredible job Eva does for so many people in this college. You cut that role, and then all of a sudden you're questioning the framework, as Jen mentioned on Sunday, of the whole college. You're looking at the exec, you're looking at the college itself, until eventually we kind of end up on it as a campus-based university on the hill. So that's why I think we should intellectually argue our case across. Because if they actually if they really properly think it's for equitability and transparency and accountability, we'll be able to pick flaws. And if they won't reason with us, then I think we should have full-blown protest. In the sense of national newspapers, other sorts of votes of no confidence. I think we should be looking at that. Because we are in a particularly unique situation. I'm sorry to be the economist, but I'm going to bring this analogy through. Normally, in an economy, when you get a bit annoyed with something, a good or a service, and this is a service that the university offers, you're able to withdraw your consumption of something by stop buying it. You know, you exit the market. Here, we are locked into a contract. We don't have that. We don't have the ability to make our voice heard. So I think there's something that we really need to do on that front. Where's the question from? Right. Nick, and can you just remind me the last bit of the question?
Yeah, it was assuming all that is going to happen anyway.
The pillars Of course, yeah. So I spoke about really clearly about having the term I've been using is the pillars in place to make sure that whoever comes into our college knows how we do things here. If it goes through, I will be doing a full review with the USO and the social sec to make sure that everything is formally written down with constitutions and accurately and precisely with constitutions. So that things like, for example, Panto and Fashion Show, which I'll speak about later because I'm not happy that they're not happening this year, but things like that, our formals, our balls, our Freshers' Week, all these sorts of things, when people come in, they know exactly how we do things the way at Castle here, and that's how we're going to retain our incredible college identity.
I had no Castle College identity or real passion towards Castle before I came here. You don't develop... Oh, look at what's coming in the back. All dressed up. You don't get that before you turn up. Sorry, guys. You don't get that before you turn up. You don't get that because... You know, you've applied here, yes, you know it's a castle. Some people will know they might have visited and they loved it here. But the college spirit begins when you're here and you get these opportunities, you have these formals, you have all these traditions. They're brilliant, they're fantastic, but that's not because necessarily we were selected so much as that we're here. I doubt very much someone is really going to change how patriotic they are to University College because they got here on luck, and it would be extremely lucky to get here rather than merit. If I still had the audacity, really, to apply here knowing that I had a 1 in 28 chance and it was a computer decided and then I got in, I am going to be very passionate for this college. The rest of our spirit broods from our opportunities, our societies, our clubs and everything else in here. I'll be talking all week in my canvassing about retaining them, about continuing Jenny's work with the relationship with the master. He should be a master speaking for the JCR and embodying the JCR, not working almost against us. I've said to the third and fourth years that I almost blame them for holding on to their old master. Regardless of what you think of him as a person, he really did embody this place and you all loved him. I'm looking that way because there's more there. So maybe this man's come in, we've pushed him away as much as he's pushed us away. So get him involved in the JCR as much as possible. Help him realise why we love the things we love, and I'm sure our spirit will brood.
Okay. Oh, I see a question in the middle there.
What's your view on us being part of DSO?
We haven't, as a second year, we haven't really been told much about this. From what I've learned, we decided to go for DSO because we wouldn't have to pay all the money towards insurance. We have stuff like the boathouse, look at all the facilities we have. We don't really pay insurance on that so much as the university does under the university banner. They also help us with our accounts a lot. Because of that, our senior man isn't sabbatical and our treasurer isn't sabbatical. They're the facts that have been posed to me, and they're the reasons, some of the reasons why we went down this route. I don't think this is, my opinion, is necessarily important in the decision making whether we continue with it or not. It comes under review every 2 years, and it is it's a JCR vote. The important thing for a senior man is posing the argument both sides in a very non-biased way and allowing the JCR to make the most educated decision.
Yeah, I've been reading the kind of framework all week, and it kind of, it looks very, very legitimate. I mean, everything said is fair and decent, really. But obviously, the problem that, I'd like to say we both have at the moment is that we're kind of on the outside. You know, Jenny's been going to the meetings. Jenny really understands, as you know, the rest of the exec, the proper position that we're in terms of the terms of the contract. So we can't really look at specifics. But at the moment, everything looks kind of legitimate. But again, it's a very obvious thing to say. As long as we retain our identity and our ability to influence the JCR's future, it's something that I'm if it's just a helping hand, as Pete said, with the accounts, then it's nothing that I'm too necessarily against.
Okay. Steph?
If the senior man was represented by an animal, what animal would you be and why?
Oh, Steph, for goodness sake! Oh, like a hippo or something. Just something like really slow and kind of has a great time. Well, very intelligent though. Very intelligent hippos. Very quick, but no, I'd probably be a hippopotamus. Not that revolting.
The important part of the question is why.
Why would I be a hippopotamus? Oh God! Right, here we are. They are intelligent creatures with a less than intelligent appearance.
I've got Durham in my ear trying to push the brown bear. So I'll run with brown bear. I don't really know much about a brown bear, but if it's anything like Durham, they are massively in love with the college.
And hairy.
And hairy. Both. How do you know that? They're well known with the JCR. They're in and around the JCR. They're to do with college spirit. They get involved with everything they can. This is the brown bear in the corner, guys. Durham. This comes from Scrubs. Yeah, the brown bear. He gets involved with a lot of things. He's part of cricket. Brown bear's a very good cricket player. He's the rugby club's, what are you, physio? Yeah, so he's everything to do with the college, so I'd like to say a brown bear.
Steph, what animal would you be?
Ben.
Hi guys. I'd like you to imagine it's a couple of years from now. You're at a job interview and they've read your CV and they say, it says here you're a senior man. Can you tell me exactly what you did in that role and what your responsibilities were? What do you say to them?
Very crudely, I've been splitting the senior man's role into two. The side that the JCR sees, the side that they see Jenny, you know, running around like a headless chicken, organising and making sure that the day-to-day running of the JCR is as it should, leading the exec, running events, and dealing with everything on your side. Then there's the other side of it, and it's the dealing with the powers that be, the representing of the JCR to college office, to the master, and to university. That's how I see the two roles.
So when I go for my job interview as a porn star, no, senior man, eh? That was awfully inappropriate. Anyway, the role is twofold. Again, I think you said twofold. Yeah, representative of the JCR to the university. I think that's a particularly interesting role, especially as I alluded to before, in the sense that you've got so many different perspectives coming in from the JCR to the university to the college office to just the kind of institution itself. So that would be the first skill that I'd probably talk about in this job interview, and the key role that Jenny plays. But the other role is being a motivator for the rest of the exec, and kind of allowing them to really fulfil their own potential, really do everything that's best in the interest of college. And that is, and they're the kind of two bits of job description that I think are really key, and I'd probably speak about in a job interview.
Okay. Any questions from out this way that I can't see? No? Back to PJ then.
You've both mentioned how you'd like to streamline elections and change the participation and encourage that. At this stage, I'd like to credit Ollie Brown from Spain for kind of submitting this question. How do you feel about the fact that senior man has their own separate election? The JCR will experience in the coming weeks the fact that most other positions, including the vice senior man, which is arguably a more important position in terms of running day-to-day things, has their own a shared election, shared canvassing, shared hustings. Do you think that this election puts senior man on a pedestal, and do you think they A, deserve that, and B, kind of warrant that position?
Okay, so this is met on the assumption that it's actually, we don't do it just because of logistics and things like that, because obviously we've got a short term. No, absolutely not. I think all of the exec are absolutely equal in their own right. They've all got an incredibly huge role to play, and without any one of them, you wouldn't be able to, engage. You wouldn't be able to engage and be as productive as possible. I just think the reason that senior man's potentially different is he or she is meant to be the kind of leader, the motivator, and the one that encourages the others to really fulfil their own potential, and maybe that's the reason that it's separated.
I had the privilege of having an hour's canvassing with Woody, where he'd created an A4 piece of paper with all the questions on, and about 45 minutes with Jenny, and they both asked me about this, and both had a very different opinion. And what I posed to both of them is, I can understand why they've done it. It enables the senior man to get that foot in the door with creating the leadership role within the exec. But I think the JCR should be voting in a senior man with that personality trait anyway, with the capability of that, so no, I don't think it makes a difference. Your idea, I've heard, about senior man going last in elections. Was it yours? Yeah, it was yours. Pete, I'll tell you all. But we're all thinking about a rejig with how the exec is elected to keep the JCR as interested in creating the most amount of voters as possible. One idea being put forward is the senior man actually goes last rather than first. It's seen as the main event. You can see here. It is seen as the main event. We can see the name, the title, the role, everything about that alludes to this. So why not put them last? Have a build up towards it to make sure that the most people possible are going to the other roles. Just post the bill for the other roles. The other roles, just to keep everyone's interest. There's 7 people voted for. That could create 3 couples and a single person, and I don't think you could single out any other role of the exec as slightly different, just because of the nature, and you wouldn't like to create any different hierarchy within the exec.
Okay. In the middle there?
What would you say is your worst quality or trait, and how would you overcome it?
My worst quality? My worst quality through, in the past, I'd say I've been trying to get over it at the moment, well in the recent years, is being too absorbed in one thing, in a role. As a head boy I loved it so much that my maths probably got a bit worse. I missed too many statistics classes. So that's time management. But I've gone through 2 years of engineering now, and for any engineer or scientist in the room, you'll know that doing something like that, very, very intensive, whilst doing any extracurricular activity, teaches you that time management. So I would have said it was that, but I'm coming around to it.
My worst quality is probably, if I'm honest with you, confrontation. I'm not one that particularly likes confrontation. I like to more negotiate and kind of understand people's views and, you know, try and accommodate them and placate them whatever way I can. I don't feel like that's ever hindered me too much, because once you start to generate a relationship with people, a rapport with people, and kind of win that argument, then it just works for a better, stronger relationship and a better, stronger decision. So that's my worst quality. How would I overcome it? Is it one that I need to overcome? We'll wait and see.
Sam?
Sorry about the dress.
Oh my god.
For those of you who can't see, Sam is around the corner wearing a dress.
My question is, what would you say is the main difference towards the other candidate, between you and the other candidate, in A, your manifestos and your ideas, and B, your personality and how that will affect your role?
I don't think we can actually have that question because you can't compare between. Can I change it slightly to...
Okay, what was your most unique...
Yeah, unique point on your manifesto?
A lot of the points were some of the points were broadly similar. I mean, I think the main one, obviously, that I spoke about in terms of practicalities was the random selection process. I explicitly said that I'll fight it, and then I'll, if we lose, then I'll set up the pillars to ensure that we, you know, have our identity in place. I think that's probably the main difference. And the other one, which is the main reason that about 6 months ago I even considered this position, is the last one, which is the charity project, and that is something that I'm so passionate about. I really, really want to narrow that gap between us and the local community. I want to create a charity project, and I've been doing some research. I've been looking at Adlington Community Centre. I've been looking at a hospice to really kind of exploit our charitable endeavours and bring this college together through togetherness and unity. Not, you know, I want to see all of this happen and narrow that gap between us and the local community. As I said before, we have incredible status, weighting and standing in this college, but at the moment it feels like we're a little bit of a sleeping giant. That's the main point. That's the main reason I'm going for it. Because I want us to actually be the best, most active college within the college and in our local community.
Personality traits as well, was it?
No, we're not.
Oh, no.
Just manifesto.
I had a read of my manifesto just before I came. I thought it'd be poignant to do so. Stupid if I didn't. What I got from it, everything I put down, or the majority of what I put down, and what I would have taken from my manifesto had I been an outsider, is there was active points within it. It's all well and good saying you're going to do something. I'm going to maintain college spirit. I said foster. But you need backings to that, and the JCR needs to know how you're going to go about that. So that was my manifesto, and that's why I wrote it the way I did. He's just going to ask me how I'm going to do that.
Okay, Alec?
I was interested to see on the Castle post-secret book today, something that said, the exec are intimidating, #remember what it's like to be a fresher. I like to know how you intend to reduce that perceived distance and possible aloofness of the exec.
Shall I repeat the question? It was how to like mitigate perceived elusiveness and kind of aloofness of the exec.
There's a physical reason why we as freshers we initially see the exec as being aloof. You walk into the college gates and you see Norman Gallery and it's up there and it's higher than you, and you just get this natural hierarchy, and that's not right. I'll allude back maybe to that point I made about a jury service duty. If members of the JCR are randomly going up and meeting this exec, they'll realise how they are approachable, and there are these people, they're just people like them, and they'll go back to their friends, and then it's all word of mouth. There's little points throughout the year which I think should change, and they're very simple, but for someone who's not confident and don't feel that the exec are approachable, they're very poignant. I'll take the most recent one. Halfway Hall, for the second years, we were told to take our checks up to outside Jimmy's room. Why were they asked to go outside Jimmy's room? Why couldn't we put it in the portal or somewhere more accessible to every JCR member? There's some people who maybe have never been to Norman Gallery. Not allowed to do that. Oh, that's a shame. Okay. Well, apparently you're not allowed to do that. That's why they've done that. Well, then it's just a relationship you strike up very early on with the JCR. I feel the exec are approachable this year if you know them as very good friends. Maybe they're not so approachable because they're a tight bunch of people who don't know them. Through Freshers Week, through people going on to these closed meetings, through how they are, JCR meetings, yes, it's difficult because they're sat up there and they create a unified front. An exec member mentioned to me that they always come to a decision before they present something to the JCR to create a unified front. I disagree with that. I think that does create a bit of a difference between the two. I would much rather see an exec with differing opinions so that you can see that you voted on people who are differed in opinion and their own person and not just a sheep behind the senior man. So maybe that's something that should change as well.
This is something that I haven't expressed properly so far in the debate, and I apologise. This is the kind of real reason as well, apart from the charity project, why I want to go for this. From the very off with freshers, I hope with Freshers Week, I hope I've been able to show you how important approachability and being friendly is, and not only just friendly to a small group of people, but to everyone, and being able to relate to everyone. I think this is the single most important thing about being senior man. And it's just little things, it's little symbols. Like, for the first few weeks of term especially, none of the exec would be eating together if I was senior man. For formals, none of the exec would be eating with each other. For example, we would potentially do a Hatfield scheme, which is great, where the exec actually take a fresher to dinner. I think it's a lovely way of really integrating, at the end of the day, guys, we're all the same age. It's a fantastic way of integrating the two, all our years, and learning about each other and learning great new things. This is such an important issue, and probably, I'd argue my greatest quality is being inclusive, being friendly, being approachable, whoever it is, whatever their background, whatever their skill, whatever their degree, this is the key point. Because if you aren't approachable, you aren't friendly, and you aren't putting yourself out there for everyone else, then what sort of exec are you? It's I'm glad you brought it up. It's a really important point.
Okay, Joe?
Both of you have got very strong personalities and very strong ideas of what you want to happen with the JCR. But do you reckon you have the ability to take on board the views of the JCR? There's not just the people here, but all those people who haven't got the confidence to come here, which is a vast majority because they don't like coming to JCR meetings. How will you get their views there?
This is, again, like these points are, again, it's really hard to express yourself when you're up here. This is another fantastic point. And something that I've learned from last week you know, you see the guys in the bar, you see the guys on the sports teams, but ultimately this college is so big. There's so many people out there with so many incredibly, you know, different views, and they really want to express themselves. I mean, on a practical level, the sort of things I would be doing is, I would narrow down the amount of selections and elections that involve standing up in front of an audience and telling a joke, that sort of stuff. Because there are so many people out there who want to contribute to this college, and they kind of feel, you know, as you said, they feel very intimidated to do so. And that is something, again, that goes with the kind of approachability. You go hand in hand. Whoever you are, you have a right to influence this JCR. That's one little practical point. And if we create the environment where it's not just the guy with the loudest voice, it's not just the guy with a joke, then I think we're going to be a far richer college for it.
I mentioned in my first spiel that I would be using the JCR levy as a model to talk about these kind of things. And this was my first point, which I haven't made yet, but through my canvassing I did. It's all well and good expecting people to put their opinion forwards in the JCR meetings, raising their hands, but a lot of people don't go, and of the people which do go, a lot of people don't have the confidence to put up their hands. I remember being a freshman and thinking my point didn't have the same weighting as the third or fourth years. I haven't been here, I haven't settled in, I'm not as much a part of college as, say, a third or fourth year. So I've been proposing other methods of putting the opinions forward. Jenny's going to come up with a fantastic website, I'm sure. And with that, it gives another mode of people putting their opinions forward. There's Facebook, there's Jenny's Twitter that she's used, there's polling, there's surveys. We recently did a survey within the second years about what we think about how the election takes place in terms of their housing. And there was a huge response, very detailed response from the second year, and that showed that if you give the JCR as many possible modes of giving their opinion forward, the majority will. So that's how I go about it.
Okay, we can take one more question. I'll do Hugh because he hasn't spoken. Hugh?
Both of you mentioned the importance of traditions and upholding those in your manifestos. With college office always trying to clamp down on traditions, particularly around drinking societies and so on. What are your views on standing up to college office? I think about Lumley Run and that sort of thing.
Lumley Run's close to my heart, and I've been speaking about Lumley Run over the canvassing. To any man who sees the Lumley Run on paper, it's 15.5 pints for 15 men over 8.5 miles. They're throwing up through Chunderley Street, they're throwing up through Durham, and it's disgusting, and you'd want to shut it down, and as a master I believe he did. As soon as a man or a woman stands in this undie, that you'd be facing the other way, and watches them come in, you understand that it's a lot more. It's college spirit. It's a rite of passage for anyone who has done it. It's not the drinking side of things, it's everything else that comes around it. That's why it's part of our tradition. And I believe that college office, and especially the master, doesn't realise that. So it's a slow process of getting him involved in the JCR and helping him realise why we do the things we do and why we enjoy them so much, why we all love a formal, why we love Lumley Run, why fives should be allowed to conduct themselves in the way they do in the Shakespeare, why they should be allowed to do what they do, and why they should be allowed to wear their 5 shirts. It all comes under the same banner of, it's not a drinking culture, it's a drinking involved in a tradition which we love, and it's part and parcel of Castle. So help him, help college office realise that.
My stand is very simple. I think people should be able to express themselves in whatever they want to do, as long as there's no social cost. With the Lumley Run, there is absolutely no social cost. We bloody love it here. It brings the whole college together. It's the most incredible time, with, as you know, we've alluded to again, with spirit. What a wonderful occasion, and that was something I'd absolutely stand strongly against. Fives boys, brilliant. If we're going to use them as an example, again, another fantastic club we have here. Obviously, if there was ever going to be a point where they, not that I, say they ever would, but any society that imposes a cost on other people, somebody said that somebody in the fives chucked water all over them, for example. That's actually kind of then going out of the way of expressing yourself, and that's impinging on other people's rights as well. I would absolutely stand up for the traditions here. They're the thing that makes the college so special and unique. But as long as it's for the right reasons, it's to express yourself freely and properly. And it doesn't affect anyone else negatively.
Okay, I think that's probably, it's kind of getting on towards past now, so Ben, have you got a really pertinent question? Big one. Okay, one last question from Ben. Sorry, candidate. You've had two.
First one is, which do you think is the least useful position, the exec position? Secondly, do you think rugby captains should get a room on the North Gallery? And thirdly, has anyone ever thought of creating new exec positions?
I don't think. I think all of them are very, very valuable. They all do an incredible job, and not only, you know, as I spoke about earlier, not only do they have their individual roles that are so critical, but you know, that's the point of being on Norman Gallery. You kind of intertwine. You have so many different skills. You know, if you look at the exec this year, you've got kind of Woody's calmness. You've got, you know, you've got Jen's enthusiasm. You've got a broad range of skills. I think they're all absolutely critical. All 12 of them. Would I put the? No, of course I wouldn't. And then. Would I introduce another position? No, I think we're absolutely fine at the moment. The only thing that I wouldn't, you know, there's a couple of officers that I'd like to introduce. I'd like to introduce a cultures and religions rep. I'd also like to improve the standing of the charities officer as well. But they're not executive roles. Is this the last time I'm going to be able to speak?
Mm-hmm.
It is?
Yes.
Am I allowed to put across, are we all allowed to summate?
No, PJ, you've had lots of questions.
PJ, get out!
You've had lots of questions. It's past. Yeah, you can have a minute if you want.
This is a really kind of contrived, artificial situation. We're kind of sitting on a stage and we're trying to kind of express a whole year's worth of kind of ideas and principles and policies and frameworks and all the rest of it. It's very, very tricky. The main thing I kind of wanted to put across, and I hope I've done in your rooms, is what the actual point, what the actual role of the senior man is. And the role is to express everyone's views and to be an approachable figure. And if you elect me, I really, really hope I will be that guy that you can approach whatever the problem, whatever the need, and whoever you are and wherever you're from. And that's what I'd like to end on. Thank you.
I'd better answer the questions first. It was. It's very difficult to pass judgment on whether the exec roles are as they should be. I feel I'm on a stepping stone between. Hopefully it will continue. Some could fall off. I've spoken to some of the exec. Some think it works the way it does, and some say they should be shortened. So that could be under call. That could be looked at. Should be looked at. As a JCR member, I remember thinking that there are some roles that maybe they're not doing the same amount of work as others. But in any team, you're going to experience that. Rugby captain, depends who you give it to. Any other roles, again, I'm on the wrong side and I haven't got the experience within the exec to pass judgment on that. I think it's a working body, a working team where you only really appreciate what they do once you're inside it. I feel I should follow with a spiel as it's been done, and it's my closing remark. Fundamentally, I'm running for this role because I'm in love with college and I'm very to do with college. I feel I'm involved in it, and I have been for a year and a half now, through the bar, through security, through rugby, through any aspect. You know, I've even been dragged up to NG and helped paint something for June Ball or Ladies' Night or whatever it was. I really feel like I'm involved in college, and through that process, I've learned to understand it, and I see myself in this role. I have past experiences I've explained, and I really thrive doing this kind of thing, and I feel I'm very good at it. And I want to ensure that the opportunities that were given to me in my first year, and have been since, are given to those coming in next year and the future. The castle is coming under attack apparently from the powers that be, and I'd hate to think that my opportunities were anything different to those to come. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very, very much all for coming. It's great to see so many of you here, as I said at the beginning, and I hope you found it valuable. The voting will just opened 5 minutes ago. It will close at 8:30 tomorrow night, with the results being announced in the Andy at 9 o'clock. And it would be good to see as many of you down there as well as possible. If you'd like to just join me in giving the candidates another round of applause.